Well, good afternoon. Thank you, Mario, for that kind introduction. I appreciate it, and thank you to everyone in the room here today. It's an honor and it's a privilege to have this time with you today. So I don't have to tell you that the members and the supporters of the Economic Club of Indiana are truly some of the most influential and engaged leaders in our community. And crucially, the dialogue that you spark is really shaping the direction of Indianapolis in countless ways. And so I look forward to taking your questions a bit later in our time together. And then we'll talk at length about how together we really must invest in the future of our beloved state. But in doing that, I want to first ground us in some of the opportunities and challenges that we all face in Indiana. And I want to make the case for the role of our state's world-class public universities in responding to those challenges and as an economic and cultural driver of our shared future. And I want to be crystal clear about the commitment Indiana University is making as a leader, partner, and collaborator to drive innovation, to attract investment, and to chart a prosperous future for Hoosiers everywhere. So I have to be candid and tell you that leading Indiana University, it truly is. It is the honor of a lifetime. Alongside our faculty and our staff across the state of Indiana, we are pursuing an ambitious future for Indiana University, a future that continues to put our students first, and a future that harnesses the full power and influence of our talented faculty and staff across the state. And so we seek an even stronger IU, and not for ourselves, but for the impact that we can have on the state. We seek a stronger IU that stands in partnership with business, with philanthropy, and with state government. And we seek a strong IU because if we do our work well, then we do our part in elevating the city and the state. Together, we can build on our state's existing strengths while tackling some of our pressing challenges. So we're gathered together today in a city that can celebrate having one of the nation's most livable downtowns, according to livability.com. So we're in a metropolitan area that ranks in the Forbes top 10 for young professionals and high-tech job growth. And alongside Indianapolis, our friends in South Bend and up in Fort Wayne were recently ranked among the top 100 of the U.S. 150 best places to live in the United States. And so Bloomington actually hits the top 25 best places to live in America, and according to LinkedIn, is among the best cities for launching an international career. And so I must confess I am biased, but with campuses that happen to be in each of those cities, I like to think that Indiana University has a little bit to do with that livability. Overall, CNBC recently ranked Indiana as the top state for infrastructure, specifically noting the sheer volume of goods that are transported here, the quality and availability of broadband access, and access to key markets, and our potential to manage extreme weather due to climate change. It's a little hard to say today. It's a little cold outside. Anybody have a little snow on the ground where they are today? Yet our state's strengths and the opportunities that come with these strengths are tempered by some difficult challenges. If we are to truly realize our potential as a city, as a state, as a region, we must confront them head on, and I know that IU can and will do so leading this effort. As our own IU Public Policy Institute reports, at least 100,000 children in the Indianapolis area live in or near poverty. 100,000 adults across our region lack a high school diploma, and more than 250,000 adults are at risk of losing their jobs to automation. The United Health Foundation ranked Indiana 41st in overall health, with infant mortality rates amongst the worst in the country. We also fall short in providing access to mental health care, where we rank 43rd, and stubbornly, we rank 45th for smoking and tobacco use in the country. And lastly, post-secondary attainment in Indianapolis continues to lag our peers, while average wages are low and wage growth continues to be slow. The recent report from the Indiana Commission on Higher Education puts our post-secondary challenges in perspective. Even as the colleges across our state see enhanced completion rates, to see the completion rates improve, and IU is included in that, college going rates in Indianapolis and across the state are on a frustrating double-digit decline. Just 5 years ago, 65% of Indiana high school graduates pursued some type of higher education, whether it's an industry certificate to a 2-year or a 4-year degree. Today, just over half are doing so in our state. Now, no single entity, be it business, government, philanthropic, or educational, can address these challenges alone, but address them we must. And doing so will require an ecosystem with partners and collaboration across sectors to reverse some of these markers. And so at IU, we stand with you as a leading part of that ecosystem with a desire to work together. For us, that work begins by being an exceptional public research university in every possible way. It starts with ensuring access to higher education, and it continues by providing lasting impact through expertise to shape public policy, knowledge and discovery to drive innovation in our own backyard, and service to shape lives and to improve our communities around the state. IU has done all of this and more for over 200 years, but the scope of our impact must grow further, in part because we know that our success delivers success for Indiana. Now, when it comes to evaluating our public research universities and the economic value that we can bring to states we call home, the research is clear. States that invest in robust and vibrant universities produce more graduates, fuel business and industry, and create stronger, more prosperous communities. Just a 10-point difference in the share of a state's population with a bachelor's degree or higher correlates to a roughly 1/3 increase in average individual wages for the state's residents. A London School of Economics analysis of more than 15,000 universities in 78 countries found that the mere presence of top-notch universities creates spillover benefits, greater innovation, increased human capital, and higher GDP per capita. In Indiana, thanks to the Higher Ed Commission's research, we know that each class of Indiana's public college graduates, from regional campuses to our flagship campuses, contributes more than $13 billion to the state's economy. And across the Midwest, research universities are driving reliable workforce pipelines to address growing needs in technology and advanced manufacturing, amongst many other sectors. Major research universities in Columbus, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and St. Louis are crucial as anchors of regional economic growth, helping these legacy Rust Belt cities to rebound. The 20 research universities throughout the Great Lakes regions, which includes both IU and Purdue, generate 33% of our nation's STEM graduates, produce 31% of U.S. university-based research and development, and receive 34% of all National Institutes of Health research funding. That's the 20 research universities just located in the Great Lakes region. Incidentally, as was mentioned before, our own IU School of Medicine, the largest in the United States, ranks 14th nationally in total NIH-funded research among public universities. And our aspiration is nothing short of reaching the top 10. Even against this unmistakable evidence of higher ed's value, distrust of our key institutions, and higher education is included, is real. Yet this growing skepticism exists alongside a lasting public acknowledgement and understanding of the positive impact of leading public universities like Indiana University. Strong majorities of Americans across party, race, and geography view education as a source of economic opportunity, and they see higher education as a source of shared economic benefit. According to a Public Agenda USA Today survey funded in part by Indy's very own Lumina Foundation, 71% of Americans believe that their state's capacity to attract employers would improve if more people in their state had a college education. And 3 in 4 Americans believe there would be a positive impact on people's ability to earn a good living if more people in their state had a degree. Of course they're right. But what does that suggest for where we go as a state? I believe it means Hoosiers need greater confidence in their ability to afford higher education, more tools to help them do so, and stronger incentives to pursue their education right here. I came from a state most recently that put its Hope Scholarship at the center of its higher ed policy arsenal. The program offered life-changing scholarships to talented Georgia students who attended the state's public colleges and universities. Driven largely by retaining these high-achieving students, the total enrollment at Georgia public colleges and universities increased by 15% during Hope's first decade. Enrollment at state colleges and universities by Georgia's Black students increased by nearly 70%. And the overall reputation of Georgia's public colleges and universities increased as well, particularly at the state's flagship, the University of Georgia, which is now securely among the nation's top 20 public research universities. In recent years, Hope Awards have helped more than 95,000 Georgia college students every single year. And just this month, the state of Michigan, another state where I once lived and worked, passed legislation that will invest more than $250 million to create the Michigan Achievement Scholarship. So nearly 3 of every 4 Michigan residents who attend a Michigan public university will be eligible for an additional $5,500 annually for up to 5 years. So states like Michigan and Georgia are investing in ways that increase enrollment and create meaningful opportunity for students. In Indiana, we must also invest in the future of our students and in the future of our workforce. From the lasting philanthropic legacy of the Lilly Endowment Community Scholarship Program to the state-led 21st Century Scholars Program, Indiana can boast a strong foundation in our shared pursuit of college affordability and access. But there is more we can and must do as a state and among those of us leading our state's premier post-secondary institutions. We have it in our collective power to help more Hoosiers go to college, afford college, and graduate from college, whether that's at IU or one of our state's other excellent colleges or through a high-quality certificate program. At Indiana University, our work begins with those students who choose to study with us, and it continues with our vow to be an unwavering and engaged leader in our economic, social, and artistic ecosystem in Bloomington, Indianapolis, and across our entire state. And this is reflected in our priorities. So we're the only university in the state of Indiana with the reach and the capacity to contribute at this scale, and that's a responsibility that we do not take lightly. IU 2030, our framework for the development of strategic plans for each of our campuses, is grounded in our commitment to the success of Indiana students, to research that improves lives, and to a platform of service that brings resources and expertise to bear on the greatest challenges facing Indiana communities. We believe that success for students is grounded in affordability, excellent faculty, cutting-edge curriculum, an unwavering commitment to equity and inclusion, and a hyper-focus on equipping students for a globally interconnected world. We view transformative research as a crucial outcome of IU's unmistakable academic excellence, where our targeted and strategic investments yield groundbreaking treatments, the advent of new industries, and awe-inspiring cultural and creative endeavors. And both of these core pillars of our plan redound to our third, a dedicated focus to improve the lives of the people and the economic vitality of Indiana, not just for our students, but for all Hoosiers. So the core tenets of our plan are already present in our outlook for Indianapolis as we prepare to transition from IUPUI to IU Indianapolis. You all know as well as I do, this is a world-class city, and it deserves a truly world-class university. And the work of making this a reality is already underway. In the coming decades, you can expect to see an acceleration of innovative degrees and solutions that prepare all students for rewarding careers and fulfilling lives. An even stronger research enterprise that drives economic growth and attracts top faculty and students, and flourishing culture of innovation and entrepreneurship that will strengthen Indianapolis's position as one of our country's great urban centers. Our goal is simple and it's ambitious. IU Indianapolis should become the nation's leading urban research university. So from the moment that I joined IU, frankly, I was in awe of our strengths, our extraordinary faculty, our dedicated staff, and our impressive and curious student body. But I'm even more encouraged and excited by what it is that we aspire to be. And I'm confident in our ability to succeed because I'm confident in our people. Their track record speaks for itself. IU is fueling growth in nurses, physicians, teachers, and more. There are currently almost 400,000 IU graduates that live in the state of Indiana today. So this includes 58% of our state's doctors, 75% of Indiana lawyers, 40% of Hoosier nurses, at least a third of our K-12 teachers, 64% of our optometrists, and a whopping 90% of Indiana dentists. We're viewing student success through a lens of access, equity, and social and economic mobility. This includes an emphasis on affordability and a focus on degree completion. So we've waived key fees this year at our regional campuses. Our academic tuition and fees task force is currently pursuing ways to minimize the overall cost of attendance. And across all of our campuses, IU has increased four-year graduation rates by at least 15%, and on at least one campus by as much as 26% over the last decade. This work also includes a focus on equity and on-campus support. For 50 years, the Group Scholars Program at our Bloomington flagship campus has provided an extensive cohort-style student support system to increase attendance and strengthen completion rates for first-generation and underrepresented students at Indiana University. And we intend to expand it so that our regional campus will have similar programs as well. This is only going to enhance the strength our campuses in Richmond and South Bend already demonstrate as U.S. News' top 10 regional public universities for social mobility. In research, our impact is wide and it's deep. Our Indianapolis campus is arguably ground zero in the global fight against Alzheimer's disease. Our Bloomington campus is home to one of the world's most powerful artificial intelligence-capable supercomputers, which equips our students and faculty to solve problems more quickly and to shape advancements in medicine, cybersecurity, climate research, and more. Just last year, our faculty secured more than $730 million in sponsored funding, with about $521 million of that directly funding high-impact research. In the same year, IU received 149 invention disclosures, filed almost 300 new patent applications, and had almost 130 patents issued, generating 4 new startups and about $12 million in revenue. So in short, we could spend all afternoon talking about the intellectual, creative, and economic contributions of our faculty, but I'm most interested in how we continue to expand the scope of these efforts to maximize our economic impact, create new discoveries, and attract new partners and new talent to our state. What connects all of our work is a belief that by linking our strengths with the state's needs, we can and will contribute to our state's prosperity, its public health, and its culture. And we have the academic focus and economic development talent to make that linkage even stronger. We're investing in programs across our campuses that address pressing needs in computer science and public health, including through expanded online options like our Master's in Public Health Administration. And of course, our highly ranked Kelley School of Business continues to produce leading business professionals on our campuses and through the nation's #1 online MBA program. When it comes to economic development, today we welcomed, as we heard a few minutes ago, former Indy Chamber of Commerce President and CEO and friend, just a few of you in the room, Michael Huber, to IU as our Vice President for University Relations. He has worked with us for a day and a half. What have you accomplished, my friend? Let's see. I know I'm very confident that with Michael's leadership, the connection between Indiana University and the vitality of Indianapolis and our state is only going to continue to grow. We're very excited to have him here. And I shouldn't be lost on any of you that Michael only owns red ties now as well. So as I conclude, I look forward to taking some questions and, of course, to continuing the dialogue. But I hope it's clear that our commitment to this state is stronger than ever. Greater access to education for Indiana's most talented students makes IU better and Indiana stronger. Expanded high-impact research from world-renowned scholars makes IU better and Indiana healthier, safer, and more secure. Greater linkage between higher ed and our government and business partners makes IU better and Indiana more prosperous. We seek a strong and vibrant IU, but we seek a strong and vibrant IU because that's how we best serve this city and the state that we call home. We'll do our part in elevating this state. And while it's sometimes tempting to be humbled by the complexity of the challenges that we all face, I am tremendously optimistic for the future we can and that we will build together. Thank you. I am. Should we take a seat?
After you.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I think I speak for everybody in saying that it's such an honor to have you
Thank
here
you.
and such a wonderful, wonderful presentation that you gave us. I have a question, a personal question.
Okay.
I understand education as a pathway to prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an example of it. I grew up very poor and was able to educate myself, work my way through college, and I'm sitting here with you which would have been amazing to me when I was a 10-year-old kid.
And I'm sitting here with you.
Yeah, but the question is, other than that obvious pathway to prosperity, what other examples of public values will the university offer in the future under your vision to make the community a little bit better, to make our lives a little bit better?
So in addition to the expected answer, right, that we will work and with great ambition and hopefully success to help more people attain a college degree, to help all people, but particularly first-gen students, which is a real focus for us as well, and to do research and to serve our communities. We also set as an expectation that our universities are integral parts of the communities in which they sit, right? So that's Bloomington, it's Indianapolis, it's Richmond, New Albany, Gary, right, Kokomo, Fort Wayne, South Bend, and that's not even our 9 med school campuses. We can keep on going, and each of those have a significant commitment to enhancing impact and quality of life for people in all of those regions. And in some cases, that's going to mean experiences for citizens. It's going to be everything from direct access to K-12 students, to those things that help them understand that college education is for them. It is those things available to the community to kind of, be lifelong learners as well. But it's also making ourselves available to the communities to directly address those challenges that are unique in each community. And there's great variability in that. Sometimes it has to do with training a special type of workforce or ongoing, training for people in professional settings. And sometimes it has to do with we need to get out there and take a lead in really impacting health outcomes in certain regions where there are great challenges as well. So we view our role as the entire continuum to serve the state.
It's very exciting. I've got a couple of questions from the audience over here. One of them, how can our large universities support our small colleges and universities? How can others help schools like Franklin College? I imagine there's someone from Franklin College here. So,
well, we view when you're in higher education, and I don't know where our Franklin person is. You want to out yourself? Where are you? Oh, over here, this way. Great, hi. But Franklin, Marion, Butler, and remember, we have smaller schools too throughout the state, right? Some of our regional schools are 3,000 to 5,000, which compared to Bloomington of 47,000, it's relatively small. But when you're in the higher education community, we're all in this together. And I hope I made that clear in some of my comments, even though we recognize that the role that we need to play as the state's flagship school. We're partners. And together we are all going to ensure that more people have access to college, more people get through college, and then there is that kind of continuing education and training that we're all going to need for the careers that we have in the future as well. So we look forward to that partnership.
All right, here's another question, and this is more of I guess it's not that much of a loaded question, but it says, in your opinion, what can or should the state of Indiana do to support K through 12 education and encourage advanced degrees?
Well, I will not attempt to answer that for the state of Indiana, but I will tell you, if you look in our strategic planning framework, the third pillar of public service and outreach, one of the first things you'll see is the ambition for Indiana University to address the challenge of the K-12 teacher shortage. And so we're going to be very ambitious in trying to figure out solutions to help folks in the state of Indiana understand what a rewarding and fulfilling career can be. And also working with current teachers to, provide them the ongoing kind of training to kind of keep it exciting and retain them, because that's one of the big problems as well. And so that's we view that as a very significant part of our agenda. I mean, you heard me say that a significant number of teachers in the state have an IU degree currently, and we view that as a significant part of the responsibility we owe the state. And I'm very confident that the state will be good partners with us in meeting that common goal.
I believe so too. We have two questions that kind of sort of hover around the same thing about the decline in enrollment, and how do you view reversing that decline? One of them specifically, the decline in liberal arts degrees.
So we have a problem, right? I mean, in Indiana, you all know this. I'm telling you, anything you don't know, go from 65% to 53% almost overnight in the number of high school grads that are pursuing something after high school. And, remember when we talk about that 65 to 53, we're not talking about just four-year degrees, right? We're talking about two-year degrees or even advanced certificates after high school. When we're down to 53%, it's something that we have to address. And, we're trying to figure out why. And no one has an exact answer. Some people talk about the great economy right now and how young adults can make so much money per hour, and so they're bypassing college. But that doesn't explain a lot of our communities where our young men aren't working or going to college at this point. And so we've got to dig down and address this before somebody's 17 years old. One of the things that I think is very important, that there is certainly some activity in the state, but I think we want to really look at expanding it, is the notion of dual credit for our students. And many students do come into college with 25, 30, 40 credits. The president of our Student Government Association on our Bloomington campus is graduating in May after 3 years because he came in with so many credits. He wants to stay 4, so he's going to go ahead and start a master's degree, as well. I think he wants another basketball season, perhaps, or something, while he's here. But all of that, comes into play in addressing this issue. We've got to get into schools. We've got to reach students before they're 17 to think about going to college and to know that they can succeed. And one of the things I've seen in other states, and back to the kind of dual credit, is that it seems to make a very significant impact if the students get off the high school campus and take the college credits on a college campus. That seems to have more impact in them envisioning themselves as being able to be successful in college and understanding the culture. So that's probably something we're all going to want to explore together, how we can grow that in our state too.
The next question is about affordability. What is IU doing to make it more affordable for college? And actually, a question for me, because we've been working on this at the airport for about 8 years. If you come work for the airport, and that is plugged, we'll pay for your education for the most part.
Thank you.
But we've got some arrangements with colleges that there's no barrier to entry. We'll pay them at the end. So in other words, the student doesn't have to put any money in. So it's not a barrier to the student. Have you ever thought about anything like that to afford businesses that do pay for education so the student doesn't have to put in money and then get reimbursed at the end?
That's a great question. I mean, part of the challenge with that, honestly, is that at least at this point, our faculty are not yet willing to put off their paychecks until the degree is earned. I'm not being at all. I'm being serious, right? So there are operational expenses that are ongoing at institutions that sometimes can make some of those solutions a bit of a challenge. But we have to take it on. And so our regional campuses are just terrific. No matter where you go at Indiana University, your degree says Indiana University at all our campuses. They are incredibly affordable. They're actually the most affordable way to get a 4-year degree in the state of Indiana is at our regional schools. And this year we've cut a number of fees at our regionals, everything from application to this year we eliminated the parking fee. And it's amazing how the parking lots are jammed and everybody's coming back to campus just from no parking fee, amongst other things. And there are a number of other areas. We have a centralized task force on tuition and fees that's being led by our new CFO for Indiana University. And we're taking this head on in 2 ways. One is addressing fees. And at IU, I tend to be very candid. That's okay. We have 1,200 student fees across Indiana University. You can't have 1,200 student fees. And so we're actually working to collapse those. We'll get rid of about 50%. Some of it will be making it more transparent and collapse, and some of it will be fees that are eliminated. But we're also working to address new ways that we're going to address tuition. And so, rather than, the automatic knee-jerk response of, inflation's at 8 or 9%. What do we do? How do we cap with it? Let's just add what's a 1% increase to tuition for students? That will not be our philosophy anymore in terms of how we're setting tuition. And so we're working to set that, to move forward as well, because we have to help. We have to help. This is so hard for so many families.
Very good. Doctor, now that you've settled into your new role, what are the 3 top challenges you have addressing these 3 top challenges sooner than later?
The top 3 challenges
that you have right now, that you've seen, you've been in there for a year, and do you have 3 challenges that you're addressing immediately, sooner than later?
can you imagine just having three challenges
Yeah, I know.
that you're,
I can imagine.
that you're addressing?
And
I mean,
that was the question.
I'll tell you what worries me, so first and foremost is college affordability. I spend a lot of time with students. It's the joy of my job, frankly. It's the time that I get to spend with students, and they will tell you everything. And this is tough on a lot of families to go to college. And so that's probably my greatest stressor in concern, particularly for so many of the students we want to serve. We want to increase our number of Pell eligible, which are lower income students. We talked about first gen students as well. A second area that's a real concern are challenges a lot of our students are facing. And so, the mental health crisis that we hear about, it's real. It's real. There's a lot of students suffering and a lot of pain, or even just need a little bit of help to get through. And this is a hard one. And I know many of you face that in your work settings as well, the people that work with you. But this is a particularly troubling challenge because we can't hire our way out of it. And if it were that easy, we just would, right? And we would address the issue. And so we're having to come up with more innovative solutions, attempt to be more creative to address these things.
Thank you. Is a decrease in enrollment a uniquely Indiana issue?
So there has been a decrease in enrollment in regional campuses and smaller liberal arts schools all over the United States, and it actually started before the pandemic. That's been an interesting trend. I think actually every single state, its flagship campuses or its land grant campuses have seen an increase in enrollment. And so that's a trend that extends beyond the state of Indiana. What's more concerning about Indiana is the just precipitous drop in the percentage of students, as we talked about, coming from high school into doing something after high school. The other thing that we're all facing, though, is if you haven't heard about it, don't Google it because it's kind of depressing. It's this thing called the Enrollment Cliff that's coming. Mm-hmm. And we're about 2 years away from bottoming out from people just having less children 17, 18, 19 years ago. So there are literally going to be less people going to college for about a decade or 15 years. We're also seeing internationally some countries that have been working very hard to build their own infrastructure so that they don't have to send as many students away to college. And I'm speaking specifically of China. And so many schools that have had great dependence on a high percentage of international students as enrollment, that's going to be another trend that's changing, as well. So the sheer number of college going young adults is going to dip for a while.
Now, there's a question on tenured faculty and how you increase the tenured faculty, but actually it ties into a question that I was thinking of. In the aviation industry, we were seeing this cliff a long time ago. COVID tended the lack of folks to run our machine, for lack of a better term. COVID just compressed time. So we have lack of employment in the industry, and that isn't going to be resolved in the next 5 years. It's going to take some time to work our way through that. Just especially since you look at the numbers when it comes to baby boomers at about 80 billion, Generation X, my generation around 60. There's a lack of folks that there's just a lack of people for the workforce. How are you dealing with that? Or how are you envisioning dealing with that?
Well, we're no different than everybody in this room, right? I mean, it is a challenge, right? And it varies. There's certain work contexts within all of our settings that are tougher, right? I mean, it's tough to hire folks in IT related fields across any industry that we're in, right? And we're no different than anyone else in that context. And so we deal with it like you do. We try to work smarter. We try to figure out what are the things that in some cases don't necessarily have to be done. Why be all things to all people all the time, just like everybody is doing as well. But then we have other areas where that's not as much of an issue, for us. And so, you hinted about the word faculty in there. I feel pretty good about our ability to recruit some pretty amazing world-class faculty to our campuses. We just announced, for example, in Bloomington, a Faculty 100 initiative where we are, in addition to replacing people that are leaving, we're going after 100 tenure-track faculty in key strategic areas to advance the mission that we have at the university. And I feel pretty good about it. I mean, I will say that my first year in the role was lots of fun and challenging for all kinds of reasons. But one was that I had the opportunity to hire 10 cabinet level, these are executive level positions in my first year, which I wouldn't recommend necessarily. It wasn't intentional. We just had a huge wave of retirements. Michael is kind of closing out that class, if you will. But we brought in world-class people on the leadership team. I mean, this is it's a powerhouse leadership team. And they wanted to come to Indiana. Most of them actually moved to Indiana to join the team because they see a university that's on the rise. That, it's a university that doesn't aspire to coast, but aspires to climb. And that's very attractive to a lot of people. And I think we're going to find a lot of faculty that are excited to come. And Indiana's pretty cool. You guys know that. If we get them here, we got them.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Let's see, we've got just a couple of minutes left. What are you doing to foster diversity inside the organization, free speech, so on and so forth? I guess diversity and free speech was tied in somehow, but you could talk about diversity at the beginning, the inclusion, diversity.
Yeah, so we have a number of things underway. I'll just give one example. Right. So last year, early on in my first year, I launched a presidential diversity hiring initiative for faculty, and the intent was to attempt to recruit faculty from around the country who come from underrepresented fields or areas or minorities. And I didn't know how it would go over. I committed to $30 million over a 7-year period to see who we could bring in. And, I was new to Indiana University and I didn't know how receptive people would be to it. And in the first year, we brought in 54 new tenure track faculty through this initiative. And so I committed 30 million over 7 years, and I've already committed 20 of the 30 million. So I got to go find some more money because this is obviously,
awesome.
It's obviously something that that this university is ready to walk the walk in as well.
Well, Doctor, we only have a couple of more minutes. I'll leave the last words to you. If you want to say anything else to close off the session?
I would say two things. One is we just launched our framework, the IU 2030 framework, which is our intended strategic plan. And what we did is we recognized that it probably wasn't going to do us a lot of good to do a typical 300-page strategic plan that makes everybody happy, right? Because it says a little something for everybody. So we came up with this framework, and I would encourage you online to go look at it. And it covers our 3 pillars. Obviously, always firsters are our students. They're the center of our universe, our research and our scholarship, and our public service and outreach. And we've set very, very tangible, measurable goals for those. So you're gonna be keeping the report card with us as we go through in the next 7 years. And then now all of our campuses have 6 months to take that framework and figure out the things they'll do to actually reach it. But the reason I'm closing with this is that we feel that Indiana University is an institution that has a common or core set of values. And no matter what campus you're on, no matter where you're working, no matter who you're serving, we understand what those values are. And if you go look at this simple document, you'll have a really good understanding of what it is that we aspire to be. And I would encourage all of you to get involved and participate through your local campus or connections you have with your thoughts and ideas for the things that we need to do to serve our students, to do research, and to really propel life in the state of Indiana as well. So thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
Doctor, it's a great honor to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.